gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for listening to PrimerTime Live on UCY.tv. My name is Michael.
Hey, and I'm Dan. How you doing, Michael?
Not too bad, Dan. Hey, we got a couple special guests tonight.
Yeah, we have our resident reloading specialist, Hal, with us, and we have Josh from Amateur Tyranny Radio. How you doing, Josh?
Pretty good, yourself?
Doing fine. Hal, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Glad to have you guys here.
Yeah, tickled to death. So, what do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, let's just see. Anybody get a chance to go out and play with anything in the shooting world this week?
You know, as a matter of fact, I got to shoot some. I target practiced a little bit this week. Michael, spring has finally sprung in East Tennessee.
That's beautiful. Good shooting weather. How'd you do?
Yeah, I did all right. Nothing to brag about, but did okay.
Well, it's just a matter of getting out there and actually doing it. What'd you shoot?
I was shooting a Glock 19 and my old favorite SIG 22 trail side. It's my plinking gun, but it's actually a very accurate gun.
That's a nice little 22.
I love it. Did you get to do any shooting?
I did not. I was a little bit busy this week. I had to deal with a swimming pool under a house and replacing hot water heaters and digging trenches and all that kind of stuff. But I did get a chance to purchase a little bit of ammo this week, and I'd like to say that I did find some 22 long rifle.
What kind of price?
I found CCI standard. It was actually just a little up from the normal price.
How available has 22 been for you guys lately?
Oh, it's been, Josh, it's been kind of like our thing is, we've done around the world checks to see how we get it. And there's not even any in South Korea. Straight up honest, I'm pretty sure that the missing Malaysian airliner is right next to where all the 22 long rifle is at.
There might be a tie in there, Michael.
You just uncovered a whole conspiracy, and we really should investigate this.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. Send the royalty checks to me in care of me.
You're also accepting weapons when people turn them in too. I understand.
That's right. Anything that you don't feel that is appropriate for you, I will take them. No questions asked. Thank you very much. I'm gonna just to help the children now.
What a guy.
Yeah, Cracker, I'm doing it for the people. Got to look out for our fellow man. So, any of y'all got any Browning high powers out there that you really don't? Yeah.
So Josh, you're a firearms enthusiast. What kind of firearms do you like to shoot? How long have you been shooting? Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
Oh, I've probably been shooting since I was 8 years old or so. My favorite guns to probably shoot are the SKS and the Mosin Nagant. And, like we were talking a little bit before the broadcast, budget guns are something that I'm into. So I like to shoot the ones I can afford to shoot and be comfortable shooting. So the Mosin Nagant and the SKS, the ammo for it is pretty affordable compared to most guns. So that's where I lean towards.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. I kind of leaned more towards the com block weapons myself, basically based on price and function. I've always found them to be utterly reliable. No malfunctions ever in any communist originated weapon that I've owned. And
it's amazing for how many they've, created, how fast they were pushing these out. You would expect them to, malfunction, but they don't. You can put them.
No, they're made out of good materials, and the mechanisms are streamlined and dumbed down basically to where they're just bulletproof.
They had good quality inspection too. I'm sure they did.
Off with your head if you didn't.
Yeah,
sort of. To the gulag.
How you posted a video not too long ago in the chat. It was made in 1969. How guns are made? Is that the name of that?
Right. That was in 1969. It was Remington Firearms is who put it out, and that was really good. What I really liked about it is one of the guns that they shot in there was a gun that I hunt with. When they at the very end of it, they shot 3 guns: a bolt action, a pump, and a semi-automatic. And the semi-automatic shot the tightest group of the bunch. And that's
Really?
what I shoot. It sure did.
It beat the bolt action.
It beat the bolt action, which that really surprised me. But that semi-automatic has got the same rotary bolt that like a Grand has. I've had several of them, and I'm telling you what, everybody, they can throw rocks in if they want to. It's like shooting a high-powered 22 single shot as far as I'm concerned. It's accurate as it can be. I had my first one was a 30-06. I took it right out of the box, and right out of the box, that thing at 100 yards was dead on. When I say dead on, I mean like you could set a beer can up at 100 yards and get back with iron sights and blast it and say goodbye, sweet prince.
Yeah, that's a 30-06 is a great round. It's a large round. Will take out just about anything.
You can shoot 80 grain or 90 grain. The smallest bullets I could get then was a 90 grain bullet, and then it shot up to like a 220. A 308 that I shoot now, the one I have now is a 308. You can go up to about a 165 or 170 grain bullet, but once you go to a heavier bullet, it doesn't shoot it as well as it would with a 30-06. But a 30-06 is a bigger case and more powder. They shoot good. You no doubt.
Well, the 30-06 has a metric equivalent. It's 7.62 by 63, and that's a pretty good sized bullet considering the 308 is 7.62 by 5.1,
yeah.
And the AK-47 and SKS fire 7.62 by 39. These are good sized 30 caliber bullets with a lot of powder pushing them.
And that's why I like
308 shorts. The Winchester, I compare those to like the 22 long and the 22 long rifle. The 22 short is real short, and the 22 long is the next one. The 20 long rifle is the next size. Well, the 7.62 by 39 and the 7.62 by 51 is like a long,
short and a long,
short or long or a long rifle. Yeah.
But then you look at, like, Josh is a fan of that Nagant 7.62 by 5.4, which is even bigger.
Yeah,
that's a powerful weapon too. That Nagant for the dollar, you ain't gonna beat that with nothing.
You know, the Nagant, when I bought the Nagant, I paid $110 for it, and at the time I was paying $5 for 20 rounds of ammo. And it's doubled in price, but that's still, you know, a good deal for that ammo.
Yeah.
Sure is, and that's is that of a 5? Go ahead, Michael.
I'm sorry, Dan. You go right ahead.
I was just wondering what size the magazine was on that thing.
It's a 5-round stripper.
5-round stripper, so you just mash them down from the top of the gun. Yep. Is that the way it works?
Yep.
And it's a bolt action gun, correct?
Correct. And they do make they do make a variation. There's a Chinese variation on it, and then they also have what they consider the tanker variation on it. But I like the full size, and they do have the sniper versions that come with a scope.
I was going to ask you that. Is there a place to find a scope on those things?
Those ones with the scopes, those literally make the price jump about $300 to $400 compared to the ones without the scope.
That'll accept
and not all of them are actual original sniper rifles. A lot of them have added on features, so you got to be aware of what you're buying out there.
Right, and you have to modify a regular one to put a scope on it.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
There's also different receivers for those.
Yeah, different bolts.
And different receivers too.
Well,
there's a hex receiver and a round receiver.
They have they have the holes built in, and the stocks on them are different. That way, the mount for your scope will fit on the side of the receiver. And the old ones, they have to cut the stock back a little bit to get the scope on there, so you'll know it the moment you see it.
I put a scope on the AK that I've got. I bought a different top for it. It's just like the top that come off the original one, only it's about twice as thick. It's heavier, and it's got set screws on the side that lock it down.
Yeah, I have that on my SKS.
Works fine.
Yep.
I've never been happy with any of those dust cover mounted scope rails for an AK-47. I've never found them to be the ones that I've purchased. I've never found to be reliable, and
I
kind
got
of,
one
for
I
me,
can
it
put on and
defeats the
take off,
purpose.
Michael, and at 100 yards, it don't change a bit. But
Yeah. I've never found one that's rugged enough for me.
You really have to be careful with them because they do make so many of them from different companies that look exactly the same, and you can barely tell a difference. But when you go to put them on your gun, if it has any slop in it, you're not going to get a good result out of it. The ones that I've had the most success with are ones that I actually had to go down and, file down the part to get it to fit. That way I can actually make sure it fits tight. It doesn't.
The one that I got was at least twice as thick as the original cover.
And
there's a lot of guys out there that are afraid to actually take a file to a part and make it fit. There's a lot of things out there for many different brands and makes of rifles and pistols that don't exactly fit. It's almost a universal part. And become familiar with your weapon, and that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The SKS, I had that down as the gun of the week. I love those things, and I'd like to talk a little more about that SKS, the Mosin Nagant. What do they sell for now?
They're going for around an average about 150, 180. I've seen them down to about 120 again. Finally, they've actually started dropping back down in price, but they started going up to 200 there for a little bit.
Oh, okay, so that's not bad. And the ammo is still available for those guns?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's actually easier to find than most.
The 5.45 by 39, which is the communist answer to the American 5.56, has just been banned by ATF decree because it has now fit the armor-piercing definition. It has nothing to do with the conflict going on in the Ukraine.
I actually looked into that too because I've seen that go across, and what they're doing is just like any what they consider armor-piercing, which
that's right. It's because they're
They just have to file a different paperwork to get it imported. They can still import it.
Actually, they have to change the composition because these are actually what they call, consider a steel core. And that's actually the way they determine that is if you can pick it up with a magnet.
Right. They can still import it, but they have to file different paperwork, which I actually read the letter that this, gun store got. And it basically even said that they have to file a different form to actually be able to get it accepted. And because they still sell those, different states are, different on these issues, and the ATF acts different within those states. But I know here in Indiana, it's not too hard to find, armor piercing.
Well, I think they actually have to change, into effect, but I remember, back a few years ago, when the Chinese ammunition was still coming in, and all that Chinese ammunition was steel core. And a company out of Tucson, Arizona, called B West actually had imported a bunch of parts, Chinese parts kits, and had bent their own receivers, and basically had made a pistol, an AK pistol, one of the first AK pistols that was for sale in the United States. Well, that violated the ATF law of armor-piercing ammunition and handguns. That's when the whole cop killer ammo scare was going on. And also about the same time the Black Talon scare was going on. But by B West, who was buying parts from Norinco, actually bending their own frames and making the pistol, that prohibited the importation of any further steel cord, or what they consider to be steel core, which is usually it's a metal mixture inside there. And it's not done actually for the armor penetration. It's done for cost saving measures. But they banned that because it could be used in a handgun. And I think that's exactly what's going on again now. They have to change it, but it's, price has gone up. So I don't know if the shipments have stopped.
7.62 by 39 steel core armor piercing bullets.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, I've got some that I bought multiple times at the show, so.
Well, yeah, it hasn't. It's been banned from further importation. If somebody's got private old stock, because there's plenty of the old Norinco stuff, but nothing new is coming in that's armor piercing.
Well, I know I went to a gun show not that long ago, last year actually, and I bought 200 rounds that the guy sold me for 308. When I brought them home, they were I mic everything before I load it, and these things were 306 instead of 308. And to be honest with you, the 306 bullet, if it's an armor piercing bullet, I don't know if you guys have tried this or not. The steel core bullets are a little bit smaller, and the reason they are is because when you shoot a lead bullet, it'll swedge down. When you shoot a steel bullet, it don't. And what I was going to tell you, those steel bullets, they work, and they'll get through a bulletproof vest. There's no doubt about that. But they'll also wear your barrel out real quick.
Yeah, they.
You know that?
That's right. And that's why the Chinese stuff that was coming in was a bimetal. It was all in a copper jacket, and it was usually a mixture of steel and bismuth and maybe some nickel or something inside there, whatever was cheap metal at that time. It always had a certain percentage of steel, but it was never a solid steel core or anything.
I know I could take a magnet and pick a bullet up.
I've seen
they'll do
a
it.
lot of armor piercing at the gun shows. A lot of it.
Yeah,
I'm just not seeing a whole lot of it in 7.62 by 39. You see a lot of it in 5.56, but not a lot of it. And I believe last time I saw a box of the yellow Norinco stuff, it was probably $40 a box.
Wow, and that's
But that was that's a specialty ammo, right? Just like the time I bought some of the magnesium shooting Dragon's Breath 12 gauge flares, or the
do those things work, Michael?
The Dragon's Breath, yeah, I wouldn't shoot them in a pump shotgun.
So you shoot them just in a single shot into a pond or something like that?
I would shoot them in a single shot that has a cylinder bore, nothing with any sort of choke or improved cylinder or anything like that.
Well, I guess you better explain to our people listening what that is exactly.
Okay, cylinder bore means where it's just a straight open pipe. It's a straight open barrel. And the round passes through unmolested. There's nothing to compress it to give it a better spread, it's referred to, or a better pattern up against the target. It's just straight wide open. And a lot of barrels will have a small, I guess it would be a curvature or something built into it, where it just narrows a bit, and it's to improve that. Or they have a screw-in choke, which accomplishes the same thing. I would not fire any kind of specialty rounds in one of those.
That fire ammo you're talking about is like a little mini flamethrower or something like that, isn't it? That's what I want you to talk about around there.
Yeah, that stuff, I believe it's a magnesium and aluminum powder, and there's no projectile in it. It's just the burning metal that comes out of it, and it flamed for about 2 seconds. I mean, it wasn't anything like you could use it like a flamethrower or anything.
How far did it shoot the flame?
About 50 feet.
50 feet. Wow.
Yeah. It was quite expensive for something I'll never use ever again, but it was kind of a fun afternoon. Don't use those anywhere where there is a fire possibility.
Burn at 3,000 degrees, something like that.
Yeah. You can't really put it out.
No, there's some. Hal, you were talking about some special ammo that it's like 3 pieces or something.
No, it was what it was. It was a slug. They had it for a 12 gauge for quite a while. They just started making it for a 20 gauge. It was called a segmented slug, and it was just a slug that looked like it had real fine cuts put in it, for when you would shoot it, when it hit something, it broke into 3 pieces. But if you're going to shoot something like that, you might as well just buy buckshot. If you're going to shoot something for home defense, you don't need double-all buck inside your house. I mean, you don't. Number 3 buck will be fine for that. Plus, you got a lot better chance of hitting. If you're not proficient with a firearm, a shotgun's the way to go. And the more buckshot you have in it, the better chance you have of hitting.
Now, double-out buck. It either has 9 or 12 .30 caliber mini balls flying out of that shell. Is that correct?
But you don't need that in your house.
Okay, and your triple. Did you say triple?
Number 3. They got it on number 1, number 2, number 3 buck. And it's the 1's bigger, 2 small, or more of them smaller, and 3 is more of them smaller. And that shit.
how many mini pellets are in a number 3, for
Oh
example?
my God, I don't know, a ton.
And what size?
I know that
are
number 4 turkey shot is pretty devastating, which is
Exactly.
actual EVs. That's pretty devastating. But you know, about
In
the
my living
specialty
room, I
ammo,
wouldn't want to get with it. It still comes
no,
out
absolutely not.
15 or
place that has flechettes for loading your own, because that was one of the specialty ammos that they had that I found did not work right because I thought that the darts or the flechettes themselves were too thin.
Yeah, the ones I seen were at a, surplus, G.I. Joe surplus store in a nearby city, and they were actually pretty thick and they had sharp points. I've seen multiple different types of flechettes, and I think I know the ones you're talking about. They're real thin. They're almost not as thin as a razor blade, but a little bit thicker. They were
almost like wire.
Yeah, they're not really that thick. The ones I've seen were a lot thicker. You probably can't fit as many into a shell, but I think that when you load your own and you can really test out the different types of flechettes. I've watched a lot of different shootings with flechettes, and
what exactly is a flechette?
it's a arrow or a some of them even look like nails.
So it's a little mini arrow that you load in a shotgun shell?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they come looking like darts. They come looking like, they even have ones that look almost like the X-Acto blades. And they got some that are real simple that look basically like a nail. The ones I seen at the G.I. Joe surplus, they were 4-sided. They were kind of small, but they were thick. And they had some weight to them. They were steel. And those things, I've seen those ones shot before, and they do some damage. They don't have a super long range, but I would say probably maybe a 30 to 50 yard at max. And if you hit your target with one of those, it's going to tear through a lot of stuff.
Yeah, see, the ones I saw, when I fired them, they didn't even penetrate.
I think the lighter ones are going to have a real bad problem on distance, because the lighter they are, the more they're going to want to spread out when you shoot.
Yeah, and they just didn't have the penetration. They didn't have the tensile strength to penetrate something a little bit stronger. Now, these ones that you're speaking about, yeah, buckshot's the way to go.
I did drop a link to a picture in the Skype, and if you see that picture and you look at the second one and the fourth one, it was kind of a mix between those two.
So about the same durability as a finishing nail or something?
Right.
That's something I've always thought about.
Yeah. And they do some damage. You can really just go on Google and type in flechette and wood or a tree and see what they do to a, piece of wood. They rip through it like it's butter. Or if you put hardwood in front of them, a lot of times they'll stick halfway through a piece of hardwood. And you're like, for a shed at, 30 yards, that's pretty good.
I want something that's going to go through that hardwood.
Well, you're going to have to go to something a little bit heftier, like a slug or something.
There you go.
Have you ever tried making any wax slugs or any hot glue slugs?
No, I haven't. That would be interesting. I've known people to make some crazy slugs where they would take pennies, cut the penny in half, and then cut it into 3 pie shape looking pieces and put them in a thing, and those do some wicked damage.
That's destruction of cash.
Better use of it.
That's why we're bankrupt.
Yeah, that's why we're bankrupt. I've seen a lot of different types of rounds. My favorite round I've ever seen shot out of a shotgun is Dragon's Breath, because it pits terror in people's eyes when they see it.
It's not quite as impressive in the daytime. I've never fired it in that.
But at night, and you thinking at night in a closed quarter and you have some Dragon's Breath on you, it would definitely be a terrifying factor for whoever's on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever actually use that in a defensive situation, just because I was just kind of aware of what it did, and thank God I was smart and used it in a single shot shotgun when I fired it. I've seen horror stories of people using that and having it melt the choke or getting stuck in the bore somehow and ruining a barrel.
I've seen it shot out of a semi-auto shotgun, and it was pretty interesting. He definitely cleaned his gun pretty well after it, though.
Oh yeah, I would imagine he'd have to. I bet you that's worse than firing 10,000 rounds of corrosive.
Yeah. But, you never know if there might be a circumstance where that could be something worth having in your ammo box.
Yeah, I mean, you can prepare for all eventualities. I think that's why they made that
I'm
G2.
a prepper, so
RIP.
I'm looking at stuff like that.
Are you familiar with the G2 RIP ammo? With the Trocars of Death, the last round you'll ever need? It's sold on Gunbroker.
The RIP ammo. The RIP.
That's right, with 9 Trocars of Death.
Yeah, I would love to have some of that.
I saw that round in Kill Bill.
Didn't that all go to one guy? One guy ended up buying all of it?
I've seen, we saw on Gunbroker that it ended up at $350 for a single box of it. And I've seen it advertised online in different places for $100 for a 20 round box. So yeah, I'm not getting any of that.
Yeah, it'd be fun to, test out, but for that price, I think I'll just stick with regular ammo.
Yeah. I guess the appropriate ammo for the appropriate, situation, but I guess we're not ever going to get attacked by gigantic Jello blocks or paint-filled balloons. So that stuff is out.
I like how they went to cylinder blocks, though.
Yeah, I haven't been attacked by cinder blocks either.
No. But
did you guys know that back 30, 40 years ago, when they first started coming out with shotgun slugs, they made one of my favorite slugs. You know what a 22 or a 177 pellet looks like?
Yes.
Flat on the front, and then it cones down and cones up and gets bigger. They made a 12 gauge slug for a smoothbore 12 gauge shotgun that looked just exactly like a giant pellet.
Wow.
Only it was solid. And let me tell you what, you want to talk about something that would knock the living crap out of something? Look at a 22 or a 22 caliber pellet coming out at 1,000 feet per second that weighs like dust compared to a slug.
Exactly.
Take a slug like that and have that thing coming out at 1,600 feet per second. You think that would get something's attention?
A lot of mass and a lot of energy. Yeah.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. You can still cast them and make them, but I don't know anybody that sells them.
It sounds similar to a Brennecke slug.
That's a badass machine, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of proud of them too. They price those things.
It's only a pellet, man. How bad can it be? Real bad.
Almost a 1 ounce pellet. That's a pretty big chunk of lead.
1 ounce pellet going 1,600 feet per second means bad news.
Yeah, that'll stop a truck.
Yeah, and the only thing you don't have is in a smoothbore like you were talking about. You don't have any riflings in it. But I'll bet one of those things, if you shot one of those things out of a slug barrel, I'll bet that thing would be a tack driver, buddy.
It's still going to be accurate up to what, Hal? Approximately 30, 40 yards?
Well, 30 or 40 yards? Hell no. A lot farther than that. If you shoot it at 20 gauge, you'd be accurate out to a couple hundred yards with it. A regular slug would do that. But what I'm saying is I think they would be more accurate than a modern slug would be in a slug barrel. I think they'd be like, because those pellet guns, man, those pellet guns were real accurate. They had pellet guns.
And they're smoothbore.
And they're smoothbore, right. Well, if you shot that same pellet out of something that would spin it and give it some stability, that thing that'd be something to reckon with.
That's it. I think the Brennecke slug is pretty similar to a pellet design, but that's usually a little bit pricey for me.
Well, you cast them yourself.
Yeah.
I still
got to get to that point where I'm starting to reload. That's what I got to do. My reloading right now consists of making hot glue slugs. Sorry,
that's a start.
Don't look at me like the kid writing his name with crayons.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Listen, Michael went as a little kid, he went from writing on the walls of his mommy's house with his crayons. Now he's melting them down and putting them in his shotgun shells.
That's the way to be, gentlemen.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Crayons work really, really well.
Well, they do send a message, and you know what else sends a message is when a company moves out of a non-gun friendly state.
Exactly, Michael. GSG moved. They moved.
They're trying to turn this into a non-gun friendly country, but there's a few of us out there that don't think that's a real good idea.
Oh, I don't think it'll ever fly. Hell, you never know, but.
There's a lot of things that we didn't say. We never say never, Dan.
That's true. But GSG moved from New York to South Carolina. Did you know that, Hal?
Huh?
GSG moved from New York to South Carolina. They got out of New York.
I lived in South Carolina for a while.
So
I actually like the place.
And
it's a nice area. But GSG makes some products that they fit in the budget. And Josh, you ever play with any of the GSG products?
I don't think I have.
They make a really nice 1911 copy and 22 long rifle that's fairly affordable, and it's 80% of the parts swap out with a real 1911. It's not something that just physically looks like a 1911. It actually operates, takes down exactly like a 1911. It's got the same weight, exact same size, and like I said, 80% of the parts swap out, and it usually comes in right about $325, which might be a little bit pricey for a 22 pistol, but it's decent quality and they have good customer service. But they've moved, and that's kind of big news. Sending a message.
And
I love 22 pistols and 22 rifles,
man. There's been a lot of talk about some gun companies moving to Indiana because of the same thing, and it's really going to send a message to a lot of these states when, already because of a lot of the more liberal states, a lot of companies are already moving to Indiana for manufacturing and stuff, and if we start getting the guns on top of it, it's going to really send a message.
Yeah, well, the liberals are going to be real easy to find when the shit hits the fan. All you're going to have to do is look back behind you.
Right. Now, there's one gun I wonder if any of you've shot is 22 Hornet.
Yeah.
I've not had an opportunity to shoot a 22 Hornet before.
Those are some incredible rifles.
That's a bad machine.
You take the accuracy of basic, 22 long rifle and you put it with the powder of, let's say like a SKS. That's basically what a 22 Hornet is.
So is it a neck down cartridge or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And the 17 caliber, they've got a 17 caliber rimfire rifle now. That 17 caliber rimfire rifle is a neck down 22 Magnum with like a 177 bullet put in it, a little small bullet put in it.
And I bet they're accurate as can be.
High humidity day, they will leave a vapor trail.
Yeah, and it's the same with that 22 Hornet. You basically look at a 7.62 by 39, take that 7.62 out and put a 22 in it, and you're like, wow.
No, they're not that big.
They're not quite that big, but they're definitely close.
But that's what they look like.
Yeah.
They're like about half the size. I've got some of them in there right now.
Yeah.
But that, once you get, let's face it, once when you get into the physics part of this, once you get to the mass of what you're going to be firing, it don't matter how much powder you put, but you could put 500 pounds of powder behind a 22 caliber bullet, and you're going to reach a point where you're just wasting gunpowder.
Right.
Because it ain't going to go no more. And that's that same thing with that. Those are what they originally come out as like Wildcat loads. But that's a bad machine. That's like Dan likes he said his favorite go-to weapon would be wasn't it a 22 250, Dan?
That's correct, Hal. That's like a 22 caliber bullet. That's a 30-06 cartridge neck down to a 22 caliber bullet, essentially.
If you was to take that 22 caliber bullet and put it in a 50 caliber bow mag, it wouldn't make any difference. It ain't going to go no faster.
Right.
Maybe
you reach a limit on how fast they can go before they start losing their accuracy, losing their structure as a bullet too.
Yeah, and then the weight of the bullet, and then that's where the length of the barrel and the twist in the barrel comes into it. Everything's got a favorite thing. That's just like the rifle that you shoot. All rifles, are made to where they're virtually identical. But there's going to be when you start hand loading for accuracy, there's going to be a certain amount of powder that gun that you shoot is going to like. And you have to keep, you go 1 grain at a time, take it to the range, shoot it 1 grain at a time more till you get to where you hold your tightest groups. And then you'll have your friend that'll have the same gun, and his will shoot good with that ammunition, but if you fine tune his ammunition, his gun will shoot better.
Every gun likes a specific ammunition, that's correct.
Every gun's got a happy medium there somewhere.
Even 22s, they like different kinds of 22 ammo that you can find out there.
Oh yeah.
Everyone.
I've got some 22 I'm gonna try and experiment with here in the next couple of days if I get a chance. Picked up some Aguila, and it's Aguila Super Express. Let me see if I can grab a box of it. It's Aguila Super Extra, and it is 38 grains, and I don't know exactly the speed on it, but it says Alta Velocidad, and as a good American, I know a little bit of Spanish, and that means high speed. So let's see what those things do.
And dirty, Michael. That's dirty.
They're probably dirty. But they are Ely primed, and it does say that on the box, which is a good sign.
That's like reloading pistol bullets with bullseye powder. It's been around for 1 million years. It works perfect, shoots great, but it's some dirty shit. It shoots dirty. They got a 223 powder now that you can shoot in your ARs that is actually, if your bore is dirty, when you start shooting this stuff, after your time at the range, it'll actually start cleaning the barrel back up. Did you guys know that?
Self-cleaning ammunition.
I'll swear to you, man, that sounds like a sea story, but it's not.
Where do you get this stuff at? And does it clean?
I'll have to do some research and dig it up. It come to me on one of those. I get a bunch of info on my computer all the time, and it was some kind of powder they've come out with that cleans. It's
what
not
about the bold
self-clean,
area?
but it shoots a lot cleaner. Some powder's pretty nasty. Like black powder's nasty as hell. You need if anybody out there is going to buy them a black powder weapon, make sure you get one with a breech plug in it so you can take it out and clean the barrel out real good. Because if you don't, they're like a cannon and they go down to a dead end. And they're a lot harder to clean out. If you're going to have one with a breech plug, that's the way to fly.
So you can ram something all the way through it.
Exactly. Take the plug out and clean it out like it's a shotgun.
I'd hate to kind of go back, but I was wondering, Michael said he had some new 22 ammo.
Yeah.
What was that called again?
It was Aguila, and it's Super Extra. And I got it at my local shop, and let me grab that box.
Does it say Super Calibri?
It
says without gunpowder?
No, it's not the Calibri. No. The Calibri is, it's just a prime case with a bullet. No, this is 38 grain. Actually, I've got 40 and I got 38 grain. So these are actual bullets that will will fire. Not like the Calibris, because I know there for a while that's all was on the shelf was Calibris.
Yeah, and I've had some of the Calibris, which, of course, if you have a semi-auto, feeding 22, they don't work too well.
They do not work. They do not work at all.
They do not feed, but if you have a pump, 22 or a, lever action 22.
Or a
revolver. They work off. And
Rush, I shot some of those because that's all that was available, and I didn't want to tap into my stock.
That, and they're just quiet. So if you're just like varmint shooting or something, that's perfect ammo to waste on like little varmints. Maybe not big varmints because it's not powerful, but it's also, you know, fun and cheap. I know it was real cheap around here, but it's been on the shelves like you said, and it did sell out for a little while, but it's been so cheap, and I've had some fun shooting that stuff. And really, that ammunition brand, it seemed everybody that I've known that bought ammo, I think they also make pistol rounds like 38 or 380s, and they all like that ammo brand. So
there's a lot of imported out ammo out there, and it's important, I think, to try a little bit of everything in whatever you shoot, and especially whatever you use at home.
And, you know, you learn too what ammo don't put through your gun, because it really does. There's corrosive ammo out there that will tear your gun up.
It's okay to shoot corrosive ammo as long as you clean your firearm after you shoot it. Soak in water for corrosive ammo, and then a good oil job, and you're good to go.
I've know people who like to use Windex when they clean.
I never did like the Windex deal, but soap, just hot water and soap works just as good, Michael, with a good brush.
I haven't given a Nagana bath in a long time. It's been a while since I've done that.
But that's, it works if you're going to shoot corrosive ammo, but you got to do it after you shoot.
You have to be very, very, liberal too, or, take the gun all the way apart. Don't, just do it like a field cleaning. Strip that thing down.
Yeah.
Because
that's part of becoming familiar with your weapon too.
Yeah, that stuff will get in every little, crevice, and it will be extremely corrosive. And that's what a lot of people don't do. And that's why I try to tell people, try to stay away from the corrosive ammo, because most people won't rip it completely down every time they shoot it. And they don't realize, the difference between their ammo. I'm like, you really need to understand what corrosive ammo is. And, if you're shooting it.
Let me ask you.
Explain to them what acid is. That's what corrosive ammo is. It's a freaking acid.
Yeah. It's just, you have to just learn more about guns if you're going to own a gun. And it's even the same for the safety issues. Cleaning, safety, all that, plays a part. If you're not cleaning your gun, you're not being safe with your gun too. If you're going to allow your gun to malfunction and possibly hurt people next to you, you're not being safe with your gun. So I think the whole gun cleaning is also gun safety.
That's a good point, Josh. Excellent point. And that brings us to our 4 rules of gun safety here on PrimerTime. We have 4 special rules. The first one being always treat each gun or firearm as if it's loaded. Don't ever take anything for granted. Just assume that a firearm is loaded.
You have to take that weapon, you have to visually verify and inspect. Open the cylinder. Make sure that there's no bullets in the cylinder. Remove the magazine and pull the slide back. Look down the barrel.
And I never pick up a gun without doing that first thing.
Absolutely.
That's what you're supposed to do, Josh. And then the second one, of course, is you're always aware of the muzzle direction, which way that muzzle's pointed, regardless of whether that firearm's loaded or not. And the third one is know what your target is before you go shooting at something, and know what's around your target. And what's that fourth one, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's the most important one of all. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge that weapon. Don't keep your finger on the trigger. It's not a nice resting place. You can't have an accidental discharge. There is no such thing as an accidental discharge. It's a deliberate act to pull the trigger. So keep your finger off the trigger, booger hook away from the bang switch, and a lot of the problems go away. Don't be giving the anti-gun people any sort of ammo to use against us.
Right.
Exactly.
And the third one you touched on, Dan, knowing where your target is, and another thing is, when it comes to that, is also knowing the gun you have in your hand. Penetration, is there going to be a house or something behind your target and you grab too big of a gun? You're going to possibly hurt other people in the process.
Well, back exactly what you're saying there. Back to shooting number 3 buckshot instead of double aught buckshot. Same thing, penetration. You only need, what do you need? I mean, if you're shooting somebody inside your house or you're shooting somebody in your yard, you don't need something that's got to go out there 75 yards or 100 yards.
Oh, come on, I want to grab my moles in the gun.
Well, that you might kill a few neighbors, but I guess, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, the problem with using the Mosin Nagant in a close range situation is if you miss your target, you're likely to set everything around it on fire.
First thing I did when I bought my Mosin Nagant is I went out to a friend's property, and we were like, okay, we got some big trees. Let's see the penetration power on this. And we were shooting trees that were probably about 10 inches thick, and it would literally go through about 2 of them and get stuck in the third one. So understanding that penetration power, that's not something you want to shoot, in the city or, in defense, in a neighborhood,
20 inches
anywhere, near other people where you can possibly kill someone that's innocent.
Well, that round was designed to take down a horse with a 175-pound rider on it. That's what that bullet was designed to do, was to knock that horse down. So,
it brings me to another topic we were talking about earlier, Michael, is these. There hasn't been any new designs on firearms in quite some time, really. There's been a couple of new firearms come out, of course, but basically things haven't changed, and now everybody and their brother is making a 1911 design in 1911. Imagine that.
Yeah, a 1911 that they price at pre is $700, $800, $900, and if they're not making a 1911, they're making an AR-15 copy. There hasn't been any kind of new revolutionary design, not since 1980 with the Glock.
So that's the most revolutionary, newest revolutionary design.
I would say 80% of the firearms in the world are a John Browning design. The rest are either a Kalashnikov, a Stoner, or a Glock design.
Yep, and the SIGs, of course, can't forget the SIG.
Well, but the SIG has no innovative design on their own. They're just a copy of somebody else's. They use the Browning style lockup in them.
The Ruger semi-automatic pistols, they've been making them the same for about 1 million years.
Yeah. But, where's the innovation we need? Where is the pocket pistol about the size of a Ruger LC9 and 22 long rifle that holds 25 rounds? If you can shove 12 rounds into a pocket pistol or 13 rounds into a pocket pistol, why can't you shove 25 rounds of 22 in there?
Yeah,
good question.
There's definitely, I think, something going on in America where it's just they're fearing to invest that much money into something like that in the private sector because they're fighting such a battle just to keep what they have. And I think that because of all that, it's really hurting innovation when it comes to firearms. And I think it's really, worldwide because of, United Nations don't like guns, and you just don't see guns in the hands of people as much as you used to.
That's because people have been social engineered and brainwashed.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That's exactly
you look at Europe, over in the UK, they all used to have pistols and, rifles, and, if that was still going on and other countries were, free with firearms, I think we would have all kinds of,
I believe if other countries were free with firearms, they wouldn't pay the, repressive social taxes that they have. And that's something that scares me a lot of them.
We are the last bastion of freedom that is armed. Who else other than us is actually armed? You can say Switzerland or if you want to, but they're armed. but their ammo is completely controlled. I mean, it's just
and there's only
listen to what your brother has to say about where he's at in North Korea and the other places that he's been. I mean, come on, that's exactly what they're trying to do to all of us.
Yep.
They're trying to do it here, man.
And you know that's why we need to emphasize safety and being responsible gun owners, because we have to, you know, be on guard because they are going after our rights as gun owners. And it's
time to exercise your Second Amendment right is when they come to take your weapons. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Well, that's exactly what Bill Cooper said. You know, with that line in the sand is where you draw it. And he said, if you cross this line, that's the last move you make.
And you know, there's already citizens out in Colorado.
We're sitting here shivering and worrying about what they're going to do to us, and we got to do this right, and we got to do that right. Don't you understand that no matter what we do, they're still going to do exactly what they have on their plan? It's time for people to start thinking about that. I mean, you know, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to be nice here, we got to be nice there. Are they being nice?
Oh, I'm not saying be nice. I'm just saying don't be irresponsible.
Well, I'm not irresponsible at all, but I'll tell you what, I see a bunch of them bastards being irresponsible all the time. Like the guy they executed that Michael put the video on himself. The guy that was camping out in the middle of nowhere.
There was another shooting, by the way, Al.
Right after that.
Yeah, another one in Albuquerque. I believe I read something that said that Albuquerque PD shoots more people than the New York Police Department, which is amazing because that must mean an incredible expenditure of ammunition considering we all see how cops fire. I mean, I'm really surprised. Like New York has it mandated
in packs. Like cops travel around in packs like wolves.
That's just more ammo for them to spread. I mean, I think there's legislation in New York requiring police officers to use solely tracers, since the weapon seems to discharge the minute it leaves the holster. You know, what was that? That police officer on the scene? Good shooting, boys. Just walk your shots right in. Yeah.
You know, if you're a cop, you say you feared for your life because a guy had a big pen, or you feared for your life because a guy had a water nozzle in his hand, or you
Stop
feared
resisting.
For your life for any reason whatsoever.
Well, you know, it would help if they quit making cell phones that look like Pop-Tarts.
Well, that's your own fault, man. If you chew your Pop-Tart into the shape of a pistol and a cop shoots you, you deserve to die. Right?
Disrespecting snack food is not tolerated here.
You know, there's a Connecticut, don't they have their deadline for the evil black guns to be registered?
That's right. Today is the deadline. No April Fools. People in Connecticut, line up and turn them in.
Well, hell, we got a simple solution to that. Go out and buy yourself a can of pink paint or can of white paint or some other color. Just change the color.
Change the color.
Hell yeah, change the color of it.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good idea, Hal.
Hey, God, come on,
who would want to
Let's
take your
get with the
polka
program.
dot rifle away?
I'm going to do mine plumb crazy to match the car.
So I want to know are they going to, all these people instantly felons now? Is that correct?
Yes, go to sleep one night, nothing's wrong, wake up in the morning, you're a felon. Isn't that lovely?
Welcome to America.
Welcome to America.
I guess that's
spelled
what
with a K and a small A.
They got what they voted for.
Yeah, I think that
well, you want hope and change
is going to really be a calling card for the rest of the country. And it's going to deal with what the citizens that don't comply do.
There's a lot of them that are not going to comply up there. I know that.
You bet.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them that aren't going to
said it right to their faces too. I will not comply.
What do you think's going to happen, Josh?
I think that part of it will be a pretty large exodus from Connecticut by a lot of gun owners. I think they're really going to start seeking somewhere else to live.
You don't think they're going to stand up for their rights?
I think that a lot of them won't actually stand up because, you know, what is America ruled by right now? Fear. And, I still don't think there's that mindset like what Hal's talking about, that people will, you know, really stand their ground. Instead, they're going to seek a Sebastian of freedom somewhere that allows them to exercise their rights.
Well, one thing's for sure, what you're saying there is absolutely true. But the day is coming, no matter what we do,
Yeah,
no
you
matter
can
how good we are, the day is coming where it's going to be decision. I've said this for years. It's going to be decision-making day for everybody. You're either going to stand your ground or you're not. And when people start standing their ground, there's going to be a spark that's going to set this thing off. And you know, we look at do you think if they go into another country, our government goes into another country and trashes their government so they can get their people in there, do you think they're going to have any trouble with us? They're going to do the same thing. There's a fight coming, man. And I mean, we can dance around this and pretend like it's not and play all the games that we want to. But I guarantee each and every one of you listening to my voice tonight, there's a fight coming in this country. And sticking your head in the sand and pretending that it isn't ain't going to change one single solitary thing.
And I think the people that are moving out of state and the people that do seek Sebastians of freedom, what really is happening at the end of it is all the gun owners are being cornered.
Oh, and they're doing it on purpose.
And
we as gun owners are trying to be as legal and be as nice as we can be about this. And what kind of respect do we see them trying to extend to us that we are trying to extend to them?
They do nothing but take advantage of our ability to go, okay, you know what, we're going to go with you on this. We're going to, go with your rules. And they go, look, they bought into it. Let's go a step further and a step further. That's all that's going on.
That's
exactly
crazy.
It, man.
Wow, time flies, guys. We are out of time, believe it or not. I'd like to thank Jules, UCY.TV. Coming up next, of course, is Prepper Chicks After Dark. Michael, Hal, Josh, thanks for being on.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Give a shout out to Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
Nick.